Everyone loves to ban away those mid champions, but right now in this meta, taking away the Bard from Keria makes 100% sense. The Jhin Bard strategy we've seen T1 utilize better than anyone. This is not going to be allowed, not going to be available.
Yep.
The Rumble will be taken away here from Doran as well, and I think we'll probably see the Unara banned here for T1. Yep. There it is.
And will it be Pantheon? Will it be Wukong? Something like that. The Pantheon has been coming out in Game 1 and losing horrifically in a lot of our games thus far. I think a lot of teams have kind of figured it out. A lot of people playing Jarvan into it, for example, that has been working out. But the Wukong banned on the blue side is interesting. When I see the Bard ban, a lot of the times I'm thinking, but where is Nico? Because Nico's just kind of ridiculous.
Nico is extremely strong. I think it's even worth banning in that final spot, potentially for T1. They will leave it up, though. That might mean that's where Delight goes here in Game 1. Perhaps T1 don't expect Delight to pick that first. The Orianna, actually even going to be prioritized over the Ryze here, will come in for Hanwha Life Esports instead. Incredibly powerful with picks like Jarvan and Nocturne. It's very flexible for mid-jungle as a B1 pick. And a very safe pick that's also one of Faker's favorites. He's no longer going to be able to play that in this best of 5. So a lot of great reasons for Hanwha Life to take that one away. See what the response is here for T1. Jarvan feels like a great takeaway here, but the Nico is just looming, and it's crazy to me that this was both left through. And even though all the reasons I mentioned, the Orianna is strong, that makes more sense to me if Nico is banned, and she's not.
Yeah. And so what is, like, obviously HLE understood that this is a risk that they were taking. Oftentimes we do see in these drafts, especially in Game 1, the top side of the map is locked away first. You then let the bottom lane go through until your last couple of picks. I love this adaptation. I think BNK was the first team to, even early in a series, start locking away bot lane early, and I think that that's going to work out very well here for T1. They are looking for the Jarvan as well. Next cab off the rank as far as power level of junglers are concerned, but Peanut immediately snap locks in the Poppy, and there is the Aurora as well for a lot of top lane dominance here for Zeus. Remember, this is a flex. Delight or Peanut could be playing this Poppy. I half expect that it's going to be Peanut, largely because it does do a decent job into the Jarvan.
Yeah, I also think playing Poppy into Nico is a disaster, so I think that will...
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Definitely be looking for that as a jungle pick. I think T1 should be able to read that pretty well, like you have. And Galio is going to be the lock-in here, because they only get to have one counter pick here, even though both of the soul laners are face up. In this situation on blue side, you can do that and say, we only get one, and we can protect the other. So the Galio, also a flex here in this draft, could be played into the Aurora in the top lane. We've seen that quite a bit. So T1 also keeping things a little bit up in the air right now. In terms of what you focus on in the bottom lane here, picks like Corki are pretty insane for T1. So incredibly powerful with Nico in a 2v2 lane, so I think that's probably where Hanwha Life will be looking to ban. Sivir, same story, especially because the Jarvan is on T1 side, so you're not going to be looking to pick that one up yourself.
Yep, that's a dangerous one. I think Sivir, Corki are almost the guaranteed bans to come through. I just think that Corki Nico is revolting. That lane is very, very difficult to play into. Possibly another Delight ban to come down from T1 side, and there is the Rakan to be taken away.
Could have even seen a Rel ban here, I think. Rel works pretty well with Hanwha's comp. There's the Corki, no surprise.
Yep, sort of had to happen.
Curious to see what Guma's going to play now in this draft. They don't have to lock it until that 5th spot and save it for full counter pick, unless there's a prio pick like the Varus that's available here that they want to go for instead.
Yeah, Jhin is still up as well, but I'm not a huge fan of Jhin Nico as a bottom lane.
It's not as strong as a lot of other ones. I think you'd rather save the Jhin for a draft that suits it better. I do agree. And they'll take the Sion and save that counter pick. So we know the Galio is 100% going mid now.
And Sion generally able to neutralize a bunch of matchups. I imagine Zeus is going to have a very, very good time in that top lane, as that is a Lucian. So Lucian Braum to come through here for HLE. Sticking to pretty short range, and I think into Nico, Jarvan, Galio, Sion.
This is a very D+ draft here from Hanwha Life.
Yeah.
Like, it screams D+. Outside of the Poppy, of course. You know, if you put a Lucid champion in that spot instead, we're thinking, okay, this is just straight up D+, right? They're looking for the Jhin, potentially. I like the Kai'Sa more, and it's not a Guma favorite. We know this, but every time the naysayers say Guma can't play Kai'Sa, he can't play Zeri, he'll pull it out in this best of 5 like this in an early game, and you're like, okay, I guess he's feeling himself today. And the Nico does do a lot for Kai'Sa in the lane, because Kai'Sa struggles in so many lane matchups. Any Lucian matchup, a Lucian Braum, the Giga Lucian matchup there is tough for Kai'Sa, but when you have Nico, it's a lot more manageable. I am worried about consistent damage here for this draft for T1 though, because they have this Sion and Galio. They have this really insane front line. Kai'Sa can do consistent damage in team fights, but she's more of an assassin follow-up type champion, so this does put a lot of pressure on Guma to build some big hefty crit items and do a lot of damage later on. And I'm not 100% sure if I'm sold on how that works into a comp here for Hanwha, which is very basic, very bursty. And if you make one mistake, Hanwha will just crush you. A lot more tempo in the Hanwha draft as well.
Yeah, I do want to say that Faker has been building a lot more damage on his Galio compared to a lot of others. He's kind of like a dive bomb, like a nuke that just falls from the sky, in comparison to a lot of these others that are building a fair bit of, tankiness in the early stages of the game. Jarvan as well, no slouch in the early levels, and Owner has been so extraordinarily good. Outside of that, I think if we got to even footing at like 25 minutes into the game, HLE are going to be feeling very good about the damage that they can do if they aren't too far behind. But there is a lot of power in this first draft. Let's get onto the rift for game number 1. Humble Life Esports versus T1. All right, and Lowpark erupts as the T1 fan chants go out. Of course, a lot turning up for HLE as well, and I did one of those things where we're on the T1 side, and so obviously it is louder to me. So I actually don't know. Maybe it was just even the whole way. It is a packed house here at Lowpark.
And I can tell you it's a packed outside of the Lowpark house as well, outside.
Overflowing house, one could say.
There's a lot of screens that you can watch the game on. If you do come to Lowpark and don't have a ticket, you can enjoy the game with those who are also ticketless and just hanging out.
Yep. Also, if you get tickets for one of the series but not the other, you can either turn up early or leave late and just still catch the other series, which is a good idea. Even between, if you've got a bit of extra time, PC Bung right there.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool place to come and hang out. I don't know why I'm like selling Lowpark. Don't really need to. You guys know
looking for a very aggressive steal here, Atlas, of this red buff. He does have Hex Flash set.
And now Owner has taken a lot of damage from this red buff and just isn't able to take it. Peanut not going to stop him taking that blast cone as the Brambleback just gets a little impatient.
This is a strategy you can employ when you know that at level 1, the Orianna is going to push in the Galio, and there's no help for Owner. There's no way Faker can impact this play. Peanut comes in, surprises Owner there, is able to use his flash to avoid vision and get in and take that away. It's going to really affect Owner's early pathing here. It goes straight from Raptors to take away his red buff, and now Owner is going to potentially look to cross after the Wolves. See what he decides to do ultimately, because the bottom lane is hard pushing because it's an eco lane. Not a great ganking opportunity. He's just going to cross the river and look to match that Raptor camp.
Yeah, and Peanut actually flashed in to make sure that Owner didn't have the information. I believe they saw the ward go down.
Yeah.
Or just thought that there was going to be a ward down there.
Yeah, he knows that's a very common place to ward, so just uses his flash to avoid it entirely. And now he's just using his Hex Flash to zip around the jungle. And Owner can track him here with this ward at least.
And Owner is able to at least head down towards his bottom side and get a red buff of his own, but it's still a fair bit of tempo now being given over to this Poppy. A fair bit of information as well, as Peanut does clear out the top side of Owner's jungle and will now move to his top side. So it's like Owner is forced into vertical jungling here.
Exactly. And so he will be able to come over here and recover his jungle now. And the game will kind of stabilize from here, but could have been worse for Owner. The blast cone obviously allows him to get out his... Yeah, I didn't really talk about it too much, but this this is quite strong, this duo, because one of the weaknesses of Kai'Sa is the laning phase, and one of the weaknesses of Nico... actually, she doesn't have any. Never mind.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say it's not the laning phase, but she doesn't really have any, does she?
No, the weakness is maybe Doran losing all of his health bar in the top lane. Obviously, that's not Doran's fault. Sion versus Aurora is just going to go like that in a lot of ways. Zeus can hit him from far away with all of his buttons. Yeah,
and he obviously has Electrocute here and will continue to harass Doran as much as possible, denying him a bunch of farm here, as you can see. And he's going to get a plate. Looks like actually not quite off of this way, but should get one on the next one. Faker, Zeka is a little bit low on mana. We had the zoom. I thought perhaps I was sussed out he was going to do something there, but doesn't commit. Peanut is going back here to look for Owner as he comes to Raptors.
Yeah, and Owner is going to come on in and see what's up. As you can see, you know, both junglers in the end actually with basically mirrored clears, as Faker is going to try and Justice Punch his way back. Peanut going to practice his smite battles, or Faker is going to come in and deny that one from being a possibility. But just wanted to make sure that he protected Owner, made sure that he was able to get that camp, and things are going to equalize between our two junglers. Teleport back in from Doran.
You see, like, nobody dies, nothing is really massively stolen, but Faker loses a minion or two right off of this because he comes over to try to help out. Zeka has control there. The wave is not crashing into the turret, but still some minions are lost there.
It also meant that Zeus could play with reckless abandon because they knew that Owner had to be on the bottom side of the map.
Exactly. That was the next thing I was going to mention, is the fact that you know where Owner is means that you can, when you have lane prio, just hard push it to its fullest. And even though the Nico lane is one that wins, you know, in the early game here against the Lucian, he still, even on CS, is going to be able to lane swap here to the top lane, no problem. T1, though, because of this, will be able to have their first shot at this dragon, and I don't think there's going to be a big contest. Faker comes in with his Merc Treads here off the TP, and that should just be the dragon going over.
Yep, not going to be a contest here from HLE. They might be looking towards the grubs that are going to be spawning. We did mention the fact that Doran teleported back towards that top side of the map, so a little bit less lane swap flexibility here as Viper is just going to run at Doran. And the Griffin alumni are just doing battle. Press the attack working out, but Viper not going to be dashing after him. Didn't have a relentless pursuit, so just going to run back to this wave.
You could tell by the movement of Viper there, he was very aware that there was a pretty good chance Doran was going to hit 6 in that exchange. He was really careful about how he pressured that. Doran did get it 6, and Viper walked away. Doran escapes, and that is the end of that. But a very cool moment nonetheless, because like you said, he still doesn't have TP. He's going to have to run his way back to the lane.
Yep.
This is still not going well for the bottom side of the map, even in the swap here, obviously.
Well, there's that ulti that you were talking about. A fair bit of damage here onto Viper, who does just press E and try to survive. Does have Peanut in the area, but some honey fruit may not be enough to make him feel too much better about this.
That's still going to be a pretty big win for Doran. Obviously, without his ultimate, doesn't have any all-in power, but gets a lot of that pressure relieved there on the top side. Zay is doing what he can now in what was initially a great matchup for him, but now is just going to be catching what he can of these waves. Does have level 6. We do see Owner is coming over here. We'll be seeing on this ward that he's going to clear. Diving this Aurora that has flash and ult is probably not going to be easy. They're looking to do it, though. Keria obviously only level 5.
Yeah, Teleport is going to bring Delight in there, so that's looking to alleviate some of this, but Owner comes around, and let's see what they can actually get done here as Zeus goes between worlds. It's a lot of damage potential here as they look for the Winter's Bite. They will be able to connect it onto Gumayushi, who does get stunned up by that passive carrier completely out of the blue stuff, and down he will go. Zeus picks up first blood, and HLE just answered the dive, but that was a bit much, I reckon.
I thought the dive was going to be pretty challenging. Not impossible, but pretty challenging before Delight TP'd in. And when Delight was there, they still committed to the dive, thinking they had enough there, and they just simply did not. And
I'm surprised there isn't a pause, because I assumed they didn't see the teleport animation. Like, maybe there was a bug, you know, like they just couldn't see it. Because, yeah, I just don't think that that's ever going to work against an Aurora.
It's right there, you know? And, like, the damage here from Zeus' ult, plus his big weirding there, is pretty insane. Now, watch, actually, after this, he flashes away, and he's like, yeah, just pick up some CS while Delight stacks that passive. And then hits the Q, pull back, see ya. And Delight gets that one extra auto. I think that just makes it enough for Zeus to pull back on the Q2 to execute him there and take him out.
And what is Braum built for? Like, exactly those moments.
Yeah, exactly.
As Peanut is able to take one of the grubs away. It looks like T1 are going to be able to secure the remaining 2. So that is definitely good news, being able to get there and lock down the second objective feat of strength as well. It's going to feel very, very nice. 2 minutes until the Infernal Drake that's going to be coming up. Chances are we don't have the most game-breaking soul, with Hextech and Infernal both now taken away.
I mean, Mountain will be pretty insane for both teams. I think that's probably what you're hoping for if you do end up getting Double Dragon, which T1 has half of at the moment. Grubs, you know, split between these two as Doran this time trying for it again.
Yeah, not going to quite land it on the Viper this time, but a lot more Cautiously positioned is the Lucian.
He did, of course, get to save his teleport because he did this. There's nothing really to teleport to right now, but could be important later on. One of the other reasons why Sion is so strong in lane swaps is he can just absorb everything, clear waves pretty quickly, and just take as much damage as he wants, and then gets to use his ult instead of TP. As we're going to see Zeus looking pretty setup here for Peanut.
Speaking of ults, as the Tangle Bob's going to go wide, Carrier flashing away, just trying to draw them away from Gumayushi, but Zeus just solo kills him. Caught a little bit too far up, and I mean, I say solo kill, he just couldn't run the direction that he wanted to because there was a Poppy and a Braum.
Yeah, the game we saw from BDD yesterday on Zoe kind of ended up getting the better of a lot of over-aggressive plays and ended up getting fed quite early. This feels like a similar situation, except it's top Aurora who's being kind of spoon-fed some of these attempted aggressions. This time it's not a dive, it's just Keria walking forward on the squishy Nico. Peanut avoids getting rooted there, but it ultimately doesn't matter, right? Even if he did get rooted, Keria is going to die, it might just take longer. And Zeus just takes him out there. It doesn't miss today.
Yeah, and this was where we had one of our microscopes, right? It was towards the top side of the map. This time it actually has nothing to do with the matchup. One thing that I imagine HLE fans are feeling pretty good about, though, is the fact that Zeus is looking like he's on form. And that wasn't necessarily the case in a lot of the other matches that we did see since MSI, I mean, even since LCK Cup, right? You can go back fairly far. But this is the Zeus that we were hoping to see all year long.
I think we might see a late contest here, although Zek would have to TP for it, of this Dragon.
Yeah, looks like HLE are coming on over to see what they can actually get to. Okay, just walk in and smite it. That'll do it.
Peanut not known for his smites this year, but in this game, it feels like the tempo vibes are real for Hololive Esports. Peanut is going to walk up and take it, denying Double Dragon. This is Cloud Soul here in our first of this best of 5.
You'll love to see it.
And, you know, Zeka TP'd, but doesn't have to fight or anything. And T1 end up committing a lot and getting nothing.
Well, they might get Delight, who does flash out of the way of the Pop Blossom. Peanut and Viper will turn up now as the culling. Not going to quite do too much. Teleport does bring Faker in, though, and HLE does need to be really careful. Zeka making his way down, but Faker doesn't quite have the backup that he wants. Winds of War just going to be there to be annoying, and that will break up the fight. He came in like he was like the gym teacher that finds people being larrikins in the gym, something like that, and says, no, break it up. It's enough of that.
Yeah. Put those back.
Yeah, goes back to the office. Goes back to the office.
You could hurt yourself or somebody else with those.
Exactly. Well, Taunt does come down as Zeka will continue to farm pretty well, obviously ahead by just a little bit. Orianna kind of known for her agricultural capabilities.
Yeah. And so far, farming up a storm as another ult here from Doran will allow him to catch this wave. The Sion was battered in the early game, but has now managed to stabilize and farm with Zeus's Aurora. And the match is now in this top lane. T1 are trying to skirmish really hard in this game, trying to find edges where they can show up faster to an objective or look for a turn, but they're getting outdone by Hololive Esports. Like the aggressive play topside failed, the bottom side dive failed, the Dragon take was a failure, and they weren't able to turn that into a team fight. And I think they really wanted to snowball this game because scaling-wise, it's a little bit of a tricky conversation because the Aurora is so accelerated in this game. The fights get tougher and tougher because she's also, I mean, she does so much damage. We've seen this in so many team fights where the damage numbers come up after the fight and you're like, she did what?
Yeah.
But also, like, she's such a great neutralizer of comps like this because of the fact that she just puts a circle on top of your engage and says, eat it.
And the amount of mobility that you have as well, as there's a Q, fully charged, landing there by Doran, as he does find a pretty good angle here. Doesn't have ulti, kind of would love it if he did though, because that was almost like kill threat onto Zeus.
How many times am I going to watch a Sion charge Q in a bush and basically kill someone in this playoff? It's actually too many. The teams are just like, I'm sure he's not standing there with a fully charged Q.
Theoretically, you could just stay a little bit further away as Owner is going to come out. Oh, the sidestep from Viper. That was slick.
This guy's just not going to get hit by anything today. I didn't even get hit by the Void Seeker.
And it was seeking him actively in a straight line.
Delight is really playing with fire trying to defend this control ward. I don't think he will be successful.
Oh, I want to watch that again. That was one of my favorite sidesteps. So deliberate, just beautiful.
Yeah, if we see his first-person view especially, I think it would be very telling where his mouse cursor is in that moment.
Yeah.
As this game it's a small gold lead, but it just feels like Hanwha Life Esports are getting every single tiny piece since T1 got that first dragon. Sure, in terms of grubs, like they don't have 3 grub Aurora inside, which would have been, I think, the only way they'd have a really bigger edge in here without additional kills in an early skirmish. Whereas Van Doren he's Sioning.
He is definitely Sioning. He was a big benefactor of the lane swap. Actually has a level advantage, what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's sort of ridiculous.
Part of that from Delight bailing Zeus out earlier, but he is really feeling himself in this game right now.
It's still going to be tough, right? Because as you illustrated earlier on, HLE have a lot of tools for kind of dismantling what T1 wants to do. It's not range, right? Which we did point out earlier on. A lot of what T1 wants to do is pretty short range, and so is HLE. But the fact that Zeus has so much mobility, the fact that Peanut can break up the Wombo combo effectively with the Keeper's Verdict, like there is a lot of tools on HLE's side to kind of, I guess, like, there's a word, but it's not in my brain.
I mean, they catch the engage really well. They break it up. They can smash it and
dissect.
It with the, dissect is the word.
Dissect was the word.
Like Zeka's ability to just shockwave that combo as well just breaks up everything T1 is trying to do. It's why Guma in the late game is going to have a huge role to play if we get there. This is looking like it's just an HLE Herald.
Well, that is the steadfast presence as the Pop Blossom does find 2. Down goes Zeus. He just gets popped like a balloon. Viper kind of untouched, but Doran is just a brick wall. It's so hard for this Lucian to do anything as the Shockwave connects onto 2, but Doran stands tall. He's got so much health bar, it's absurd. So in the end, it's going to be Zeus for Herald. And honestly, pretty even.
Yeah, pretty even trade here. See how the Herald gets utilized, because that's going to be the biggest part of this. Unfortunately for Hanwha Life Esports, because they lose Zeus, the Herald won't be usable for this Dragon. So the timing of this is kind of unfortunate for Hanwha Life Esports. If the Dragon was spawning in 1 minute's time, you know, they could reset, get Zeus back in, look for a contest of the Dragon with the Herald, but instead it's just going to be T1 getting the kill and getting the Dragon that goes with it. So arguably really a trade up here for T1 because of this Dragon. And they will take it for free. Doran also getting some additional time alone with this turret here on the bottom side of the map.
That has
Peanut looks for the ult onto Owner here. He stops him with a steadfast presence, but he's not able to affect the fight otherwise. That guarantees the Herald, but doesn't win them the fight.
Oh, Doran is, I would say, in a little bit of trouble. Rock in a hard place, all those sorts of things. It's going to take a while, but he is extraordinarily dead. They want to give the kill over to Viper, but he's unable to get it. And Zeus will be able to lock that one down. Zombie Scion is going to be dealt with. So now HLE.
They're going to get this turret too.
Yeah, they might be able to do it,
yeah,
as the Herald can just be thrown down.
And, you know, just a moment ago, he's got some alone time in the bottom lane, maybe a little bit too much alone time.
I thought that was going to be feats of strength for T1, but in the blink of an eye, it's feats of strength for HLE.
Yeah. That's just how quickly things can change.
Oh, the pendulums.
And now T1 are fully grouped down here without Doran. Doesn't have TP, trying to defend this charge.
There's. Okay, well, he's just going to try and run away. 90 health on Shelly.
And he
see how the drift does go. Yeah, nice driving there. Even gets some CC onto the crab. And then Shelly's just going to run away towards the bottom side and will be dealt with. So no extra charge or anything like that, but just sometimes you need a way to perambulate yourself. And that's precisely what Zeus got.
I feel this game is going to get harder for T1 before it gets better, unless they can find a big combo in an upcoming fight. And because these objectives were taken, for example, for free, like the Herald was stolen away by Peanut's ultimate, and then he's able to get that. They lose the fight, but they get that objective, which leads to a turret, which leads to feats of strength. Then the Dragon that they got after they got that kill onto Zeus doesn't give the T1 the opportunity to fight. Now Faker is going to be the next one to be caught in sides.
Yeah, we've seen this play, this exact play that was like 5 minutes ago, as Faker's going to get stunned up by the concussive blows. That will line up the heroic charge so comfortably. Man, this Poppy Braum combo, it's working pretty well.
And I mean, this kill was taken away from Zeus, but if he actually gets that there, he's on 4 kills, but I don't think he really cares that much. Given the game state, he's about to be a whole level up, or a whole item up, rather, on his counterpart in Doran, and he is just so large in this game. And it's these side lane pinches that T1 have been, unfortunately, so known for this time, not for the good way that we've seen in the past, where you've got Faker side laning, they turn it into a big win. They just kind of keep getting caught and getting nothing in return. They got to push onto the top side. They're not able to get the turret in return, though. And it is getting tougher before it gets easier, and maybe it doesn't get easier if this continues here for T1.
It's looking a little bit rough. However, one thing that is fantastic, well, outside of that trade being a lot of damage, one thing that does look good, though, for HLE especially, is the fact that Peanut is doing things today.
It's Peanut Poppy.
And he had a game plan for the early game, right? Like, it did feel like in a lot of the games that we saw HLE play that Peanut didn't have the same level of knowledge. Like, he just kind of got it. When this team looked good, Peanut knew things before everyone else.
Yeah.
But what he's looked like over the last few months has been sort of the opposite of that. Like he was playing catch-up the entire time. This is once again that proactive Peanut that we were hoping to see more of.
I think it's not fair that yesterday Canyon got his Lee Sin stats lower third, but Peanut didn't get his Poppy stats lower third.
Maybe we can get one. Like, this is Casas to G-Sun. If you could, if there's a Poppy lower third that we could do of any kind, even if it's just a picture of Raggedy Ann, that's completely fine as well.
All right, now, jokes aside about the Poppy sets, T1 are fully grouped here on Otacon right now. They get a pick. Could be an opportunity. They have this choke point controlled. Now, this is exactly how T1 want to fight. They don't want to push into a shockwave in the choke point, but on the outside, on the concave of it, they have a great team fighting composition. Doran also has TP at the ready.
Yep, engage Braum at the ready as well, as you were talking about. Shockwave to clear out the wave and a Faker at the same time, as he will take 3 turret shots off the back end of that play. Zeka actually convincing the Galio to leave.
I think that's 100% worth for Zeka, because now your Galio is just not in this fight. He's going to have to back and TP, and they've lost all control. And sure, your Shockwave's down, but T1 just cannot team fight now that they've lost control of this area. Faker chases a bit deep there, trying to grab the turret.
Just out of vision.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they're just going to get the free reset.
Yep, nicely done. So Void Seeker from Gumayushi just going to try and scan the river. But they do have a fair bit of deep wards, things like this. T1 not going to be too surprised about what's going on the map as Gumayushi gets the shove in this mid lane. And Viper will be making his way back. Essence Reaver and on the way towards the Infinity Edge here for the Lucian. As item number 2 should be very close for Gumayushi at the same time. In fact, probably has it. Yeah, there's the Rage Blade. And that's a big deal. That means 2-item spike a little earlier here for T1 in the bottom lane. Obviously, the items are a little bit cheaper, but still, item completion is very important.
Yeah, this is the type of explosive fight you need, or the type of item advantage you want to have that explosive fight here in the mid game as T1, as Keria is...
Yeah, Zeka just sent another person home.
Yeah.
He's a bouncer.
Yeah, he says you can't
yeah.
here. And so when this choke point is controlled for Hanwha, T1 just can't fight, especially now that this time he sends him home without utilizing the shockwave. Faker is actually still lurking around this area, but they're very aware of it.
And it's 10 stacks on the Rod of Ages. It's Seraph's complete. Like, Zeka has...
He's so difficult to kill.
Yeah. Like, this is the Bruiser Orianna that we saw. As there we go. There's the Lolly Poppy. Never mind. Not even Ragdoll Poppy. It's the terrifying one. There's a reason why we don't have that splash out anymore, guys. That's Nightmare Fuel.
That's an image of me taking a bite out of Peanut's win rate there, being like, yes, it's delicious. So high win rate on this champion. I don't actually have the number on me right now, but it's really high.
Maybe we thought about using it, but we were like, no, let's just not. In my mind, it's very high, but you never know. In my mind, I feel like Beryl has an extraordinarily high win rate on everything. But as we know, that's not often true.
All right, so once again, T1 wrestled away this prio of the Otacon, and we continue to do this dance here. And they need to hold on to it, right? Guma's in a really good position here, very difficult to punish.
Doran's getting impatient as he just flashes on top of Viper. He tries to get out, but the Pop Blossom was waiting for him, and Faker just bonks him on the head, lands down from the sky. That is just going to be the one pick. A lot of resources used. Every R button has been pressed to take down this Lucian. But still a fair bit of damage towards Delight. Peanut trying to be a nuisance. I don't think it's Otacon time, but it's a good pick for T1.
I just checked, by the way, 75.6% career. Not in LCK. I think in LCK it's higher, but
that's still kind of ridiculous. And this should mean that Soul Point does go over to T1.
It is, and you know, T1 have this insane collapse onto Viper, and Guma's in position to follow up with his ultimate. It's just so easy to, when you find an isolated target like this, like look at where Keria is on the side here. Pop Blossom comes in,
Guma's on exactly what he was gonna do.
Like Guma's on lock, and This is kind of a mistake from Viper to be that far away from your teammates, to be in that engage range. Just gets completely caught.
I mean, I think positioning for carrier needs to be celebrated first.
Yeah.
You do need to be building that phalanx together. Reading the flash, though, oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really clean.
I think Dandy had it right.
Okay.
Be careful of what carrier can do.
But now those ultimates are down. Hanwha Esports get this master reset, and they're still saying, well, you got to kill, but this Otacon is mine for the taking. T1 don't have a Galio ult or a TP for Faker, so he's just not here.
They had full information as this was started up, but Owner is going to get into position. This is risky from HLE. Zeus, he moves on over. Pop Blossom is going to connect once again. They look to take down Viper, and there he goes. This time it's going to be a trade, and the Poppy does secure the Otacon. But now we're going between worlds. Zeus looks for Gumayushi. Can they return the favor? Yes! And it's Peanut that locks down that kill. Now there's concussive blows on everyone. The Braum from the grave is still getting the work done as the Justice Punch onto Zeka doesn't find the mark, and Peanut is just heroically charging all over this top lane and will be able to take down Doran. Just a lonely Gargoyle left on T1.
T1 got the initial fight win on the Otacon, denied that one there with a pick onto Viper, but on the follow-up, it's another carrier engage, but the engage in the fight is just so split up and so risky. They don't have all of their tools. It takes a while for carrier's ult to come online. Does finally come back up. Faker never uses his because the fight is over, and they're going to lose more than just the Otacon here. It looks like this Baron is also up for grabs, and Faker's got TP now, but it is going to be completely worthless. No Doran, no Owner, and that risk for T1 I think just was not worth it. If you get the Otacon, sure, that's nice, but now you're getting way more. Okay, Faker is going to TP in. They're looking for the fight.
There's the calling as Viper turns up in the nick of time. Faker still trying to do something about this, but it is just going to be Baron secured by HLE. The interruption on the taunt, and Faker is going to get taken down. The health bars are looking low, but Peanut is a brick wall to stand in front of HLE, and they just systematically took everything from the top side of the map.
And they fall like dominoes, T1 do in this game. It was such a close game, and then suddenly, piece by piece, some failed attempts as Carrier again fishing.
Yeah, not going to quite find the angle here. They still managed to kill Zeka despite everything as heroic charge comes down. Doran dealing with a turret and Viper plus Peanut is going to be a little bit of a bridge too far, and so he will be taken out as well. Man, this went from pretty slow and calculated gameplay to an absolute bloodbath mess really quick.
So look at Carrier's angle here. He wants to be able to get Viper and Zeka. Fortunately for him, it decides to go all the way onto Viper instead and goes so deep it's a trade. The smite goes the way of HLE, but this fight is so incredibly broken up for T1 now. And look who's the member who's still caught. Sure, not killed in the initial salvo, but Guma is on his lonesome on the left side. Faker doesn't have ult to protect him. Doran can't peel for him, so he just gets blown up. And now there's just no match for damage here as Zeus just deletes T1 member by member. They lose the Otacon, they lose the fight, they lose Baron, and T1 now on the back seat of game one.
And I swear, this has just been the Zeus Peanut show. The two of them have been playing so well, and who has been getting all the criticism this year? It's those two players.
It certainly is.
And seeing it here from Zeus' perspective, playing an absolutely incredible game. Man, I was not, like, I had a few theories about what we were going to see from HLE. Being dominant in game one wasn't one of my theories.
Nice.
I'm gonna say that for you. I did have the script, but I don't have all the days, you know? Like, someone dropped it in a puddle. I think only a few of the pages really survived. I was doing pretty well for the last couple, but not this time.
T1's decisions were very quick, right? And they were crisp, and they were well coordinated, but I think the risks they took and the underestimation of what Hanwha Life can do in these drafts, or with this draft in turns in these fights where the collapses are onto Zeka or onto Viper, just is somewhat disrespectful when you consider what Hanwha can do if you lose that fight. Like, I think they thought about, oh, we win this Otacon fight, but didn't stop to think about what happens if they get wiped and then lose everything and lose the game over it despite having a 2 Drake lead here. Hanwha Life Esports now grouped with choke point control to say it's not going to be your soul on this fight.
Yeah, and the thing for me is that I feel like that was a very risky Otacon, and I think HLE have gone for plays like that, but in the past, it just straight up hasn't worked because they haven't looked this coordinated. Like, they just haven't been able to execute quite as well as they have in this particular game. They're gonna have to do so again, though, as Faker just getting sidelined by Viper here, who is just all over him. Heroic Entrance comes down defensively, but they can also use it as an offense, as Zeus might get caught, and he is just gonna be put in the Cataclysm. The culling comes through, though, and Owner is gonna be taken out as well. Viper relatively untouched in the back end as Faker goes golden, but that is not going to save him. And now Doran just trying to run away. T1, it looked like they sort of had an angle, and they have half a plan, but it's the getaway that they haven't figured out.
They just don't have enough damage, Atlas, and it's a triple threat here for the side of Hanwha Life Esports. Sure, maybe you can kill one of Zeus, Zeka, or Viper, but you can't get all three, and you're never going to get 2 out of 3. And in this fight, Viper does 6,000 damage, pushes Faker to ult in a kind of uncomfortable spot, but Faker still turns it into a nice ultimate where he both escapes and then assists his teammates, but it's still not enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the early start of this, like, you could see the plan. Like,
yeah.
Faker is going to take a lot of damage from the Lucian unless he gets out.
Zeus is the target, right? But he can go golden. He buys so much space. The ult here from Peanut keeps Doran out of the fight. And when Viper shows up, half of T1 is on the wrong side of the pit. Guma can't do anything. He can't offer any damage. And he's really the only source of damage this comp has. So when he's just walking around at 1/3 health, Viper and Zeka are like, well, this is a playground for me. Yeah. I'm just going to run away with this fight. They grab the dragon, they deny soul, they win the fight and pick up multiple kills while doing so. Doran just keeper's verdicted away. And Guma was on the left side of the pit. Like, he just couldn't offer anything back.
Yeah, you were talking about it. I think that Gumayusi has a lot on his shoulders here today. Zeus and Viper don't have quite as much because they have each other, right? Yeah. They both do so much damage. And you saw, like, Viper was consistently caught out in the last couple of fights, but then Zeus was there. This time, it's the other side. You know, Zeus did do a beautiful job avoiding a lot of what the Pop Blossom could have done with his ultimate, still got a lot of damage off, but then blew up immediately. And then Viper was untouched, right?
Yeah, and the build here from Guma doesn't offer him a ton of like consistent damage later on. Like, he's Kraken Slayer, Rage Blade, it's super standard to then go into the Nashor's Tooth. Obviously, is going to give you the transformation so that you can offer some poke, but I just don't think poke is going to win you this game. You need more consistent damage. He has safety then as well on top of this arm guard, but it just really isn't going to be the one carry hyper carry. This is not a Teddy Kaisa like 1v9 game, and especially with the game state now where they're so far behind, it's difficult for him to do so. As here comes Peanut up into the front line, they're looking to collapse.
And the ulti comes down from the engaged Braum. Keeper's verdict gets rid of the Galio, but he's probably the one more hopeful about it. As Pop Blossom hits everyone. Zeus goes golden, so does Zeka. He's able to flash his way out the shockwave onto only one, and it's only Carrier. And so it looks pretty good here for T1. They take down the Aurora and the Orianna, but Viper is still alive. Justice Punch comes in. The front line is still there. The flash is read by Ona as Viper is just gliding away from the fight. He finds the Jarvan. And you got 2 carries, but not the one that matters.
Not the one that matters, not the one they need to get in the end. And Viper plays it so phenomenally there in the end. Kites away, gets the kill. And if we get a replay of this, I want everyone else also to watch the snipe from Zeus with his death rattle, his last breath. Gets the pullback on his Q. Nico taken out here. Faker the only one remaining, the last man standing here to watch the Baron fall. 4,700 gold to lead.
All right, well, we've got a teleport coming in. Faker and Doran are both very tanky.
Now, this is a little bit risky here for Hanwha. I mean, Delight's basically dead. Tiki is coming through from Zeka. He does have his Shockwave back available.
But they also have Gumayusi coming in. Killer Instinct at the ready. Culling comes down. And T1 are going to be, this is risky for HLE as Doran gets himself in there. He's avoided majoritively though, and the Q does absolutely nothing. Voicing unable to get any steals, and we're going between the worlds, and what's between them? Looking like a game 1 victory here for HLE, who will grab another Baron and look for another push.
Just phenomenal performances across the board here individually, but also as a unit from Hanwha Life Esports. They had a massive lead early, and they just keep taking W's with it. Even with T1 trying to catch them for their greed, they just outplay them once again on this Baron, and it looks like the Nexus will explode here in about 33.5 minutes for T1.
It's not looking good. They could go for one last-ditch effort, and we'll see whether it is going to work out. But Ona, man, like, just wasn't able to do anything. The keeper's verdict is in, and Gumayusi is out of there. Pop Blossom not doing anything here at all. And the Cataclysm comes on through, but I think we know who is at the mercy of the Cataclysm in this game. Is this time they'll be able to get Viper. Never mind, Gumayusi doing a fair bit of work, but the Shockwave is gorgeous. He will be able to go into stealth momentarily, but that's a dangerous orb. Still able to actually buy enough time, as the dead inhibitor turret will be able to almost get Zeka to safety.
Dead, unfortunately for him. He's going to come over and grab this turret at least.
Wait a second. Base race, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, actually, there's no way, right?
He's going to look for it. He doesn't have flash available, but Doran also not really able to kill him. Zeka is just here, and he's looking to go to game 2 a little earlier, but it's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, couldn't get through administration on that one, and we're just going to have to wait.
Should have played Cassidy and Atlas.
Yeah, definitely should.
Well, in this fight here, it's just an initial attempt onto Doran, right? He's super tanky, but they're so far ahead, it doesn't necessarily matter. Blossom comes through. Now watch Zeus in this fight. Watch him. He's solo, flashes away, gets over the ult here of the Jarvan, and snipes Guma. It's actually absurd. Like, it's actually unreal. And then from there, that's not enough, right? Because there's just so many melees trying to get on top of Viper. And Golden is Faker, right? Look at this attempt from Owner. He flashes over the wall, dashes back here, has the blast cone to play around, doesn't need it.
This guy's reaction time is absurd, as gets out of the way of the Q from Ona, which could have been the end, as Viper looking for another calling. Faker taking so much damage here. This is still Cloud Soul for T1 possible, but Zeus is just skipping into the enemy base. And in the meantime, T1 are also losing the fight on the bottom side. 6 elemental drakes to go down before there's a soul, and more of Malmortius from the grave is what Ona is going to pick up, and I just don't think he's going to have time to use it, as HLE are closing in on the exposed nexus of T1. There's still a few members here. They still have 4 left alive.
Guma is going to have to make a miracle happen here in this space defense if we are going to see this turnaround for T1.
Well, there's the Between Worlds for Zeus, already doing so much damage. Goes Golden here as well, as Doran taking a fair bit. Heroic entrance just to buy some space here for T1. But Zeus just walks around it, finding these angles beautifully. Gumayusi far too low to get anything done. The self-ult flash from Zeka to hold them in position. And it's all a formality, as the Nexus is so close to dead already. And HLE will springboard themselves into a game 2 with a victory in hand.
Phenomenal performances from the carries here of Hanwha Life Esports. Every single member had a role to play, because like you said at the beginning of the game, it was just Zeus and Peanut against the world. They were doing everything in the early game. So many big ults from Peanut, the early ganks. But then when it came to later on team fights, Zeka showed up big with his shockwaves. He was able to survive some of those engages. He was able to split himself away when they were collapsing onto Viper, so he could survive and help turn those fights. And then Viper, 51,000 damage on Lucian.
That is a disgusting amount of damage.
I was waiting for the graph to like let me I was gonna like hammer the point in, but I didn't think it was gonna be over 50, Atlas.
Yeah,
and I was like 42 or something.
I was about to glaze Zeus, you know, I'm like, oh, and look at all of the damage the Aurora did. Well, actually, it kind of pales in comparison, as, yeah, Viper having one heck of a day here today. And there's a lot of narrative points that we can now bring back, because HLE are looking like they're pretty good at the video game once again. However, only game 1 of this best of 5 series, and we'll see whether T1 can get themselves back on track, as we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, the space, they're going to break it down, and we'll have game number 2.
1차도 먼저 박아.
사이사 공 있어.
아 이거 싸움 터치해본다 이거.
갈게. 대진상 먼저. 앞라인 가봐요.
알렘부터 때려봐. 알렘부터 때려봐.
리코 도플.
앞라인.
야, 괜찮아. 나 안 죽어.
앞라인 때려줘.
사이가 먼저 잡아봐. 다른 분 나온다.
야 혼자.
야, 가자.
터치면 끝나.
아이, 그냥 잡아.
리코. 잡아요. 나 봐주실 분? 나 봐줄게. 끝내자.